Tonight, we were hearing from Fort Smith city leaders after the board of directors voted to terminate the city auditor. That firing comes shortly after it was revealed that Rebecca Cowan was facing criminal charges in Oklahoma. 5 News reporter Jacob Luthi joining us now with more on what she is being charged with and what is next now for the city of Fort Smith.
Yeah, Darren, Fort Smith City Director Neil Martin says the last few days have been frustrating after finding out the newly appointed city auditor he believed was qualified and had a great resume is facing stalking charges in LaFleur County, Oklahoma. And now the board is working to figure out just how this crucial detail escaped both the city's HR director and the company the city used to find her.
Rebecca Cowan was appointed an auditor for Fort Smith on April 22nd. 2 days later, she's out of a job.
Found one we thought had a great resume, really good credentials, references checked out. Everything seemed really good. We were excited about her. And then kind of all went downhill.
Court records say Cowan faces a stalking charge in LaFleur County. In a probable cause affidavit, Cowan's ex-husband alleges Cowan zip-tied an AirTag under his truck. Records show an arrest warrant was issued on February 15, 2024, and she was arrested in June.
What information did they have that wasn't relayed to the board?
City Director Neil Martin says the board has called an executive session for next Tuesday to discipline or terminate the Chief Human Resources Officer of the city.
To get in and discuss performance issues, things like that, we have to go that route. But we've got to talk, about what happened internally with the HR administrator or HR director and how that information flows to us.
But the alleged criminal history did not just bypass city workers.
In the future, we'll have a study session or some kind of session that talks about SGR, who's the search firm. How much did we pay this search firm, who has now, for the second time, generated candidates that weren't up to par? Can we terminate that agreement altogether? Have we really gotten value out of that contract, or can we recoup some of that money?
Martin says while the process may be slow, they are diligently working to get answers.
We know we've got a firm. We know we've got internal HR. We want to make sure that we have our ducks in a row as to who knew what, when, how, and then make decisions accordingly.
Now, Cowan was set to start her role with the city on May 27th with an annual salary of $110,000. A preliminary hearing in Cowan's case is scheduled for May 21st. Jacob Luthi, 5 News.
All right, Jacob, thanks. We are following that developing story now out of Salisal after the Oklahoma Department of Health says a Walmart store is possible measles exposure site after someone visited there while contagious. According to the agency, that person was at the Supercenter on Ruth Avenue between 7 and 10 last Friday night. Health leaders say anybody who was there during that time and is not vaccinated needs to get in contact with the Oklahoma Department of Health. Comes after the Arkansas Department of Health reported 2 exposure sites in Fort Smith last night. A contagious person visited Mercy Hospital and Best Friends Pet Clinic. They say the infected person made stops at both of those locations in the past week. New tonight, the records for 2 of the 5 international students at the U of A in Fayetteville have been reinstated after they were terminated by the Department of Homeland Security this month. They were among about 300 international students. Visas can be canceled for a number of reasons, but according to the AP, college leaders say the government has been quietly terminating students' legal residency status with little notice to students or schools. Leaders from the U of A say they're still monitoring that situation. Possible changes to the Bentonville Square. Blue Crane, the real estate wing of Walmart Air's Tom and Stuart Walton's Runway Group, announcing a new mixed-use development project. They say the development is planned to go on 2nd Street between Northwest A and North Main Street. Take a look at some of these renderings we've gotten. It'll include residential units, commercial spaces, and underground parking. Blue Crane says it's partnering with Riverside, a company out of Austin, Texas, to complete the project. Claims key elements of the square will be preserved. Plans will be submitted through the city's large-scale development process this fall, and construction could start as early as next year. Piece of Rogers history coming down soon. The city says after decades of service, the water tower along Persimmon Street will be demoed in the coming days. City says the tower has been disconnected and was disconnected in 2018. No longer meets the needs of modern infrastructure. City says property was sold to a third party who will be taking down the tank and then replaced it with a cell tower. Well, tonight, two Hogs have their NFL dreams come true. Two former Razorbacks now know where they're headed after being picked in the NFL draft tonight. Sports director Alex Stewart here now. And Alex, one of those picks came kind of as a big surprise.
Yeah, Derek, most analysts thought that Landon Jackson would hear his name called today, and to be fair, they were right. However, what most weren't expecting was that he would be the second Razorback taken in the draft, as you alluded to. That's right. Isaac Tesla was first off the board. He was selected by the Detroit Lions with the 70th overall pick. Now, Tesla turned some heads with the 6'4", 214-pound frame, especially since that big body plays in the slot. That is a matchup nightmare for nickel corners and safeties. Oh, and he ain't slow either. 4.43 40 time. But what I think really attracted Dan Campbell and the Lions to him the most, he is not afraid of getting physical. He will go over the middle and is not scared of doing the dirty work. He is a Honolulu blue-collar guy, which is why he headed to Motor City. And no sooner than he went off the board, the guy we all thought was going today went. Landon Jackson heard his name called with the 72nd overall pick, that by the Buffalo Bills. Now, Jackson needs no introduction. He's a high motor guy that is big and physical and explosive, and if teams didn't know that before the combine, they sure learned it there. His 40.5-inch vertical jump, one of the highest verts by a D lineman all time. And I'm not just saying this, Darren, but I truly believe the Bills got a steal in round 3 with this guy.
You know, and I think it's not going to be long before we see him on Sunday afternoons.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't be shocked
Both
if they
of
didn't
them,
start
actually,
working
yeah.
him in pretty early with packages, and he starts maybe starting by the end of the season. But I think the coolest thing, especially for both of those guys, you know, a draft, it's kind of always a crapshoot where you end up. Both on championship caliber teams.
Yeah.
So they're going to have the ability to compete for titles right away. And when you can get that taste of winning early in your career, that just so beneficial later on.
Almost back-to-back, too.
Oh, my
Gotta
gosh.
love
How
that.
cool would that have been?
That's nice. All right, Alex, thanks. Well, tonight, Arvest says all of its mobile banking systems are back online after an outage today. According to Arvest, there was an internal issue that caused them to temporarily disable certain online functions. Bank says this was not a cyber incident and there were no unauthorized access to any system. Celebrating 53 years tonight, the Guidance Center marking decades of service in Fort Smith and across Arkansas. The center opened its doors in 1972 and has provided quality behavioral health care services for everyone. Today, it also introduced the Family-Centered Treatment Program. It's a new model that improves outcomes for youth with behavioral challenges through holistic and home-based care.
So family-centered treatment allows for skilled professionals to go into homes and really come alongside families and children and help them work through whatever issues that they might have.
Center serves Crawford, Franklin, Logan, Polk, Sebastian, and Scott counties.